Shalom, it's your brother Yirach, giving all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rahakwadash for giving me the spirit to do this lesson. Shalom to the elect of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, whom the Lord will have mercy on in these latter days. Shalom to the men of the Lord, the prophets preaching and teaching in sincerity and truth on the highways and byways. Shalom, shalom, shalom. And I have another lesson here, and brothers, bear with me. I'm gonna jump around a little bit here. As I was reading this article, it really just got me upset. In all honesty, once you see what's happening, what's unfolding, I'll read this here, and then I have a video. I'll play part of it, and then obviously some scriptures. It says historical figures reassessed after George Floyd's death. Protests and in some cases acts of vandalism have taken place in several cities in the U.S. and around the world. In a re-examination of racial injustices over the centuries, and this article basically it just goes kind of down the list. They're taking down these statues, these so-called monuments, all over the world, really. King Leopold's been taken down over in Brussels, all over Europe. You know, they're calling, yeah, here's one, and Leopold's a demon. He was wiping through the Democratic, well, what's known today as the Democratic Republic of Congo. Back then, it was just the Congo. Now that country is split, you know, over the atrocities and, you know, people separating. I think Patrick Lumumba, I forget his name, Salakia. But he was killed, you know, for speaking out against that. But that's neither here nor there. The main point on this is Esau is now, and this picture here made me think of it, you know. This, when I saw this, it became so symbolic as to what is happening, you know. And what you have is basically one movement hijacking another movement, you know. Now Esau is being very crafty and deceptive, you know. Notice how everybody's in the streets protesting for so-called black people, right? Now, what do you see here is you see the giant rainbow flag underneath it, you know, with the Black Lives Matter horse on top. They repainted over it. And this is symbolic because on one hand, they're propping it up, you know, but it's just surface level, you know, it's just the surface. But the majority of it, if you look at this image, the majority of it is the rainbow, you know, showing you what the real drive of all these protests and all this madness in the streets. That's really what it is. It's this agenda, this rainbow agenda, you know. It has nothing to do with my people, you know, with our people, you know. It's just a prop, and it's put up almost as just like a sacrifice, because a lot of our people are going to get the blame for all of this, you know. So when I saw this image, it was just you know, it just stuck out to me, you know, like something in my spirit just clicked, and I said, you know, this is Satan showing his true hand. This image is very symbolic of exactly what's going on in the planet Earth, you know. Esau's hands are at work in all of these protests, because now that all of a sudden they're reassessed. These so-called white people, which are the Edomites, they've known the atrocities of these people that they're taking down. Christopher Columbus, you know, all these Confederate generals, Robert E. Lee, you know, King Leopold. They've known the atrocities of these people the entire time, you know. And not once did they think like, you know, well, we should take these down, you know. If they really felt some type of way about what they did, they wouldn't have waited until just now to take all this down. Because honestly, they didn't care, you know. So they in one shape or form they were with it, you know. But now they see this as an opportunity to cause, you know, mayhem. Because honestly, Satan is about to come down on us with great wrath, you know, as the scriptures say, because you know what they have but a short time. So you brothers cannot be, you can't be deceived by these protests in the street, by these gestures of so-called remorse or morality, because that's not what this is. And this is also symbolic of what, if you just look at Black History Month, you know, you don't hear that talked about at all anymore. The Pride Month is now way, 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 way many times bigger than Black History Month. You know, all of these brands, Oreo, you know, video game companies, Adidas, all of the Nike, all these major brands. Which what we see, they'll change their logo to the rainbow. You know, now do they change it into some red, green, and black for Black History Month? No, they don't do all of that. All of the parades, all of the attention, the media coverage, it's all on Pride Month. You know, they use you Negroes in the civil rights era to get hosed down with water, you know, have dogs sicked on you, get discriminated. They didn't come out of the closet back then. They let you niggas take the brunt of it. You know, they weren't marching with us back in the 60s and 70s. You know, and now look what's happened. They've hijacked the civil rights movement for rights which they don't even need. They have more rights than any other group in America. More rights, you know. You can't say the F word, period, without getting major scrutiny, you know. They're almost as protected as the so-called Jays, you know. And you have to wonder, you know, why that is, you know, because ultimately black people, or so-called black people, are really just used, you know, as a pawn. And I got a video here, Claude Anderson, and if you brothers get a chance, y'all should watch this entire video. This brother goes in. Now, you know, ultimately he's very, very good and keen. I like his brother's spirit, but he doesn't know the entire truth. And if you watch the whole interview, that'll be clear, especially like towards the end. He's of the belief that our enemy is going to allow us to come up, you know. So he's underestimating Esau. He doesn't know his enemy at the end of the day. But he's very, very good historically on knowing exactly what happened to us. See, he's not enchanted like most Jakes are, you know. And I'll start at 8:20 and I'll play a few minutes of that, and then I'll skip and get a scripture.
Second affirmative action plan in the United States, but the first one for black folks. When I wrote the affirmative action plan, it was approved by the governor and the state cabinets, assistants, but not. I didn't write it for minorities and poor folk, those broad terms, people of color, and for diversity, you know, and for gays and lesbians and midgets and humpbacks and one-eyed people. I wrote it strictly for black folk.
So listen, is there any way that blacks can correct the resource imbalance?
Yeah, you can. See, and you start playing the game. That's why my second book, I wrote the first book called Black Labor, White Wealth, and which Ebony Jet calls the second Bible for black folk around the world. It sells all over Europe and into Africa. That was to show you every technique, every trick, every custom, every policy that the major white society used to lock black folk into a lowest level of a real life monopoly game. And they maldistribute all the resources, period. It showed us that in very graphic terms. I think you got to have a copy of that bottom book over there.
Yes, sir. Black Labor, White Wealth.
That's what that was for.
We got dirty little secrets. We got more dirty little secrets.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Now, and this is what they call it around the world. They call this the second Bible for black folk. Mm-hmm. It shows you exactly what happened to you, and that you have no rights. And power. I follow that with powernomics.
I did. Oh, it's behind you.
Yeah.
There you go. Boom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And this is a national plan. What was the question you just asked me? I ran past it. You asked me.
Or how do we catch up as black
Okay,
folk?
how you catch up? This show, this
See, now this is where he goes in. How do we catch up? There is no catching up. You know, is is depressing as that might sound firsthand. You have to realize that the Most High put us in this situation. You know, we are the reason we are here ultimately, and the Most High has a plan to deliver us to those who believe. You know, those who are gonna call on His name, which the Father's name is Yahweh, His Son's name is Yahweh Shai, and you say Bahashem, which is in the name. So you would say Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. You know, calling on that name is going to be, the scriptures say it's a strong tower of defense, you know, in these latter days, because ultimately the Most High set up this so-called white man to do exactly what he's doing. He's been given this power by the Most High, you know. But let him finish.
is a national plan for black folk. It says a national plan to empower black Americans, period. And what you first thing you got to do, to make it long story short, you got to have what you never had in this country. That's a group self-interest. You've been inculcated and coordinated and brainwashed and believing.
Now, what is a group self-interest? You know, what is that? What does that mean? You know, now later he's going to talk about our major commonality is skin color. You know, but us brothers who in the truth, we know our group self-interest is our identity, who we are. You know, we are Israelites. Now imagine if every Jake in America just knew that we were Israelites, you know, and they came back to that identity. All hell would break loose. Esau would he would bug the hell out, you know. He'd be trying to put us in concentration camps right away. Then you'll really see who the devil is, even though he's gonna show himself soon anyway.
That you got some obligation and responsibility to save the world. You got to save everybody first
Yeah,
before you
that's
save
right.
yourself. Now, I'm a pilot. I don't fly anymore. I'm too old to be flying. But one of the first things I would tell people on my plane as passengers, the first thing you do, if we lose cabin pressure at 30,000 feet, we don't have any cabin pressure at night over 10,000 feet. If you lose cabin pressure, a panel over your head will fall down.
Right.
When that mask falls down, the first thing you all should be doing is putting the mask on yourself. Quit trying to save everybody. Why has always got black folk marching trying to save it? We're marching for gays. We're marching for women. We're marching for poor people. We're marching for the handicapped. And yet you only control 1/2 of 1% of wealth. You haven't got a snowball.
He's on point, and that's exactly what this is. You know, we've been marching for everybody else, and look at this statue is symbolic of exactly where we are. That's where that's gotten us. They still have way more rights than we do. You know, we don't have many. We still have 1/2 of 1% of all the wealth. Not these gay white folks. A lot of them are wealthy. They're in the upper middle class. You know, but what do we have? You know, and we're marching. You know, as he said, put the mask on yourself before you try to help someone else. You know, and this is a true sign of a deceiver. You know, who would take advantage of us like this, who would use our rights to march, and then go on, you know, and heap unto himself basically, you know. This is this place has got to go, man. This is Psalms 10, verse 2. It says, "The wicked in his pride doeth persecute the poor," and Esau will straight up call this Pride Month. You know, he would just straight up say it's pride, and the Most High hates pride. You know, there's no way around that. You know, you can't get around it. At the end of the day, He is the Most High. You know, so you need to come out of that, separate yourself from these people. You know, come back to who you are, the Israelites. It says, "Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined." You know, so if you are confederate with these people, you're going to be taken in these devices. You know, don't associate yourself with pride. Associate yourself with humility. It says, "For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth." And the Most High abhors these people. He abhors Esau. He abhors all the behavior of this place. All of this idea of hedonism, Live, this philosophy of live your truth, you know, no personal accountability. Just do what you feel is right, The I just want to be happy philosophy, you know, with no regard for what the objectively right or wrong thing to do is. It says, the wicked through pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts. And they have completely separated you from your power, you know, going down this path, thinking that there's an upside, you're going to get rights, you're going to get treated. Esau's never going to treat you fairly, you know. And Clarence is going to go into it. We own 0.5%. Now here we are, we're almost 15% of the population, you know. So we should have 30 times the amount of wealth than we have right now just to make it balance. 30 times, just to make it balanced. And why is that true back then and why is it still true today? Because Esau's the devil. He's intentionally kept us down. These civil rights marches and acts, they've done nothing but enslave our minds, He released us out of slavery to control us, to keep us down in a servant class of society, in a poverty class. There are some Jakes that make it out because Jake has a tendency to figure things out, but ultimately they've kept the majority of our people down. Uh, says his ways are always grievous, thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. And that's what he's doing. He's tearing down statues. He's goading you into it. And at the end of the day, he's not gonna stay in jail if he gets locked up. You're gonna stay in jail. Says he hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. And that's a philosophy of pride, that nothing ever is going to happen to you. There's no judgment. You can do whatever you want. It's just madness, man. Verse 7, it says, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. And that's what this is. Now they're laying bricks out there doing protests, hoping you Jakes just wild out. They're setting fires to all these businesses. They're just complete madness, and we're gonna be the ones that take the fall for it. These Antifa groups, these pride marches. I don't think it's any coincidence it's going on through this month, because ultimately there's a very sinister plot for us to be caught up in this snare. Look, Pelosi calls for Confederate statues removed from U.S. Capitol. These are all bullshit gestures to pacify Jake, and to get us to fall for the okie doke. As it says, under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Verse 8 says, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, in the secret places doeth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. And who are the poor? That's us. That's what this all is. These rich folks in the pride community, the LGBT, the majority of them are not poor. The vast majority of them are upper class liberals, that haven't had to struggle, that don't need any rights. They have more rights than anyone else. But what are they doing? They're goading you, the poor of society, to come along and follow them. You're gonna get destroyed. You're being warned now to come out of that. Verse 10 says, he croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. So the strong of his society are going to come out there and put you Jakes down. The military is going to show up, the police. You're going to get tear gas. You're going to get blamed for all of this. He hath said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face, he will never see it, because they just think that they're going to get away with this, because they're so filled up with pride. And you Jakes are getting in that same spirit of pride. You're not going to be rescued this way. There's no way you can get rescued this way. Verse 12, arise, O Lord, O God, lift up thine hand, forget not the humble. For wherefore doeth the wicked contemn God? He hath said in his heart, thou wilt not require it. And that's what they think of the Most High, but we know, Salakia, whether you believe it or not, the prophecies are coming through, A great and horrible judgment is coming on this place. Whether you filled up with pride and don't believe it or not, that judgment's it's just gonna make that judgment worse, Thou hast seen it, but thou beholdest mischief and spite, and requited with thy hand. The poor committed himself unto thee. Thou art the helper of the fatherless, and that's us, the fatherless. Here we are, more than half of our people don't even have fathers. We're poor, we're selling drugs, just lost, destroyed. And somehow Esau is convincing us that this madness here is our way out, with the BLM on the top this is just like a sacrifice. That whole image is just wicked. Wow. That's basically it on Psalms 10. Let me let Claude Anderson finish.
Chance. And then the end of slavery, as I said, we're marching for women. We're marching for poor people. We're marching for the handicapped. And yet you only control 1/2 of 1% of wealth. You haven't got a snowball's chance. And then the end of slavery, as I said, you had 1/2 of 1%. Guess what? The average white person at that point in time had 3,500 times more wealth than the average black.
3,500 times. That. And they didn't give us a goddamn thing after that. After they set us free, showing you that we're still in slavery.
That means that 99% of everything in this country was in the white society, and it's still in the white society. I don't care from Vermont all the way to California, San Diego. 98% of everything of value is locked in the white society. 87% of it's frozen, locked into white society. You can't.
Meaning 87%, you hear that? You Jakes, 87% you can't get out. There ain't no coming up in this society. Now we know kingdoms are translated through blood. So are you gonna go there? I doubt it. But at the end of the day, the Most High, this is Esau's kingdom. We're not meant to take his place over. The Most High has a special judgment for this place to be a giant plume of smoke, a memorial of what not to do at the end of the day. This place is to be an example unto all the nations once we get in the kingdom of heaven. So you're trying to take over a place that the Most High is destined to destroy.
Can't get it out. So all you got to compete for is about 13% is up for grabs. And if black folk don't learn how to compete for that 13%, you are through.
And who you think is going to get the rest of that 13%? Most likely Moab, Ishmael, the so-called Chinese, the Arabs. They're coming up in here getting the remainder of what's even possible to get, because the heathen have spoiled us. Meanwhile, they've taken all of that wealth from our labor through slavery. All the intellectual property of music and entertainment that they make millions, billions on. And they just extract labor from us. And labor is a form of wealth. And they've done it from since slavery all the way up and through today.
And right now, that's what's happening around the world. You see all these, we're going to implode in this country. Same thing happening in Germany with the Jews. And there was a book out called Hitler's Willing Execution that said the same thing. When certain kind of things began to happen to you as a group, You better be very careful. And they wrote that as a big, thick book, and about what's going to happen. And they started exterminating the Jews. Why? Because you got a group now that you all don't know about called the Council of 300. What they want to do now is say we got too many people on the earth, and we're going to start losing resources. There aren't be enough resources left. We got water. We're going to have water shortages coming. And when water shortages come, what follows that is food shortages. Right now, 20% of the world is suffering from water shortages. We're going to start having water shortages in this country. We have water shortages and have food shortages. So what the council and all these government, all these rich people on the earth are saying is that we got to start getting rid of some of these people. We're going to start with the non-producers.
Yep.
Now, who are the non-producers in America? The only people in America that produces absolutely nothing except sweat is black folk.
He nailed it.
That's real though. I get what you're saying. I feel you.
No, you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
I mean, right now, all of our people that are supposed to be successful, guess what? The only thing they produce is sweat. They're running with balls, football, basketball, baseball, tennis ball, golf ball, singing and dancing, producing sweat. Nobody's buying any damn sweat. And how are you going to feed yourself?
Right.
You don't produce anything. We don't have any industries. And we had a chance to get industries in 1700s when the Industrial Revolution went through Europe. Black folk were slaves. When the Industrial Revolution went through America in the 1800s, we were still enslaved. We own and control absolutely nothing.
Boom. He said it. When this Industrial Revolution was going on, we were not only enslaved, but they were making money off of our labor to enrich themselves. So it was twofold. Not only were we missing out on the Industrial Revolution, but we helped we forcibly helped them get all of this wealth via free labor, you know. This is Psalms 11, verse 2. It says, "For lo, the wicked bend their bow, they make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the upright in heart." And that's exactly what they're doing here, you know. And I'll let I'll get one more scripture. Let me fast forward. Salakia, I know I'm jumping around. I believe it's over here about around the 45th minute mark.
Now, here's the irony there. Now, they appointed from 1948 up to that point in time, you've had about 30 black federal judges. How is it that Claude Anderson can get 3 federal judges? You got 46 million black folk, they couldn't get a damn thing. They're in politics, social. You see what I'm saying? Civil rights leaders.
They not
Like the
asking.
elected official, huh?
They not asking.
See, that's my point. They don't demand a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, going back to your question, you are never getting anything until you started demanding. And the first thing you should be demanding is what they didn't do during the civil rights movement. They should have gone back.
Now we know Esau is going what he's going to do. What he's doing right now, which is give us everything except we asked for. You ask for reparations, you know. What does he do? Oh, we just do police reform. Oh, we'll take down some statues, you know. He's going to offer you everything but the thing that you asked for, you know. It's just a distraction. He has no plans on letting you come up in this society because he thinks so low of you.
1960s, instead of talking about social integration,
That money,
thank you,
economic empowerment.
in economics,
That's right.
you should have said, hold it. And I told them at that time, they had a big march in Detroit, Michigan, down Woodward from Jefferson Avenue down to Wayne State University. And they're going to march down there. And Martin Luther King was leading that. And Malcolm X was there too that time. And I was opposed to it. I said, what are you trying to do? Well, we want to go out here and integrate the suburbs. I said, if we're 51% of the population in Detroit, why do you want to go out to the white suburbs? Let them go out there and stay out there. No, that's not right. We got to integrate it. And so they have a march. The first thing they talked to was Malcolm X.
See, it's that same spirit. They want to go out there and hold hands, and they want to integrate, you know. Now, we were poor in those communities, but at least we were together, you know. But our people just want to go out there, and they want to be accepted, you know. Esau has broken the mind of a lot of our people, you know. There's a psychological plague on our mind passed down from from slavery, and and the Most High is really only dealing with the elect. Only the elect are going to break out of it, and understand that, And some members who are not of the elect can even understand it. Now this guy Claude Anderson, I for one, I pray that the Most High opens up his mind at least. I like this brother's spirit. He's not broken. As much as a lot of these jakes are out here. He just doesn't understand the truth. At the end of the day,
They said, and the newspaper says, Malcolm, what do you think about this march down Woodward, from Jefferson down to Wayne State University to integrate suburbs? And Malcolm says, what march? He said, that march down, they're coming down. He said, that's not a march. So the newspaper said, what is it? He said, that's a damn parade. He said, like any parade, you got a bunch of clowns out front leading it.
Yep.
He says no, and said, don't integrate these communities. Leave black folk intact.
In other words, stay away from the devil. Don't be among them. Don't hold hands. In large numbers now, it's impossible to not be around them in this kingdom. We're just in this captivity, but that was wisdom. And our people didn't listen.
That's why no Arabs, no Asians, no Hispanics, nobody's coming to America trying to socially integrate with black folk.
That's always been the NOI way, though. The Nation of Islam always was like, let's build our own. Do for self. Yeah.
But see, black folk, I just got to be with somebody else. And see, and so the conclusion of this is that I got to get your point. I got to go back to this.
That's all right.
I keep leaving it. First, you build these communities. Mm-hmm. Right now, we do not have not one single black community in America. Mm-hmm. Not one. It's impossible for you to play as a community. Means you got a team. People got mutual understandings, interests, and direction and plans. You have not one black community in America. All you got are black neighborhoods. A neighborhood is where you eat and sleep. A hotel is a neighborhood. A neighborhood is like having a bucket with holes in it. You pour in water and it runs out.
So he's showing you, Jake, these communities that y'all so proud of, these hoods, it'd be Harlem, Chicago, all these different areas. Those aren't communities, Y'all don't have anything. Everything is reliant on the so-called white man, This is captivity. That's what y'all have to get through y'all head,
It has no effect. And in some of these neighborhoods, it's gotten so bad now, they're not even neighborhoods anymore. Crime has gotten so high, they ran the neighbor out. All you got left is a hood.
That's right.
That's why they call it the hood. Nothing left in there. They don't have any communities. They have a community, you must have three elements to make a community, qualify as a community. You must have a wholly independent economic structure that can produce jobs, services, goods, products, and resources for your own people. Two, the second thing you must have in there, you must have a code of conduct, saying this is how we're going to behave.
Now, what community is there in America today? There's not one amongst our people. Now, he said you need a wholly economic system. We haven't had that since Black Wall Street. You saw how that ended. And as far as the code of conduct, the men of the Lord have been trying to tell you about the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. That's literally the ways of life. That's how you survive. But our people don't want to listen. So ultimately, the Most High is going to have to completely and utterly destroy this place. You 2/3 going to have to die death by pain. And the Most High is going to have to forcibly put his ways, his spirit in our heart, turn our stony heart into a fleshy heart. That's the only way.
Here's how we're going to love and support each other. Here's how I'm going to get along. Here's why when I go to the Breakfast Club, I'm going to love and respect those blacks on there. Appreciate them. Care about them. Protect them. And lastly, you must have politicians elected to office who will represent you first and foremost. You don't put black folk in public office that will look out for everybody else before they look out for you. If you don't have those three things, you don't have a community. All you got are neighborhoods. And that's what we got in this country, with no neighborhoods. And once you get that neighborhood, then you go to Annis's 5-story building. And this is how you get your wealth and power, to go back to my friend's name. What's the word?
Charlemagne.
Charlemagne.
Yes,
Go back to
sir.
Charlemagne's initial question. Now, you got to go back in that community and do what I told you in my books. You must build a 5-story building. Once you get a community, that's your platform. That's your baseline. Because you got turf and territories, like building a house. Mm-hmm. Now you got something situated on. You can't build a house with nothing. It has to be structured on something. And once you got that foundation, that community, now the first thing you work on is economics. You started practicing group economics in a vertical order, practicing group economics, making your money bounce in your own community 8 to 12 times before it leaves. Spend your money with your own people first. Buy from your own people first. So you get an economy going in your community. For buying your own people's products, services, and goods, like you do in Chinatown, any other town, Mexican town. And once you get that economy going, then you get the profits coming, the resources, the money coming in from your economy. Then you go to the second floor. The second floor is politics. Our people got that backwards. They want to get into politics before they get an economy. Backwards as hell. You won't make it. And the politics is the second floor.
So he's right. Now, the reason I let that play through is because I wanted to get, actually, I'll let it play a little bit further, but he's getting into people being into this political system, which it's never going to do anything for us, ever. You know, you have to do for yourself. Now, ultimately, you know, his whole 5-story deal, it makes a lot of sense. It's very logical, you know, but it's not meant to be, you know, here in Babylon. The Most High is dead set against this place, and he's damn sure dead set against us trying to add value to this place, you know. The Most High wants us to come back to him, you know. Repentance is how we get out of this.
I learned that before I ran campaigns when I was in office with 2 presidents, okay? It won't work. You get politics at the second floor. And don't worry about voting. Voting is immaterial. Voting is a game. It's a form of entertainment. So when you get to the second,
You heard that? A form of entertainment, you know. Y'all not are doing anything when you vote on these national wide scales. All of your voices get washed out, you know. And even if they hear you, they don't do shit. These people are never going to do anything for you. But that's basically it on that. You brothers should watch that whole interview. It's pretty good. Um, if you understand the truth, you know. Um, let me get this is Ecclesiasticus, the book of Sirach, and I'll start at 26. There is a wicked man that hangeth down his head sadly, but inwardly he is full of deceit. And I'll go back to this image again. That's what this is. He hanging down his head sad, like he's mourning with us, but they're full of deceit. You know, they're trying to lay that wound underneath us, like what's promised to happen to them in the book of Obadiah. Uh, it says, casting down his countenance and making as if he heard not. Where he is not known, he will do thee a mischief before thou be aware. You know, and our people, he's not known amongst our people. Most people think that he's there to hold our hand, you know, to see us through, that they're for us, but they're just causing mayhem, you know. They're just literally just letting them demons run wild on us and letting us take the blame for it. Verse 28, and if for want of power, if he be hindered from sinning, yet when he findeth opportunity, he will do evil. So when George Floyd got killed, that's what that was. He found an opportunity to do evil, you know, if the whole thing wasn't just set up. Now, there are people, I think there are higher ups, the elites, that probably set this thing up. And then you have low level Edomites that saw this as an opportunity. They what you call on the internet these days virtue signaling, you know. That demon of guilt is on them, it's plaguing them so much they do these vain gestures of so-called kindness, but really this is just them appeasing themselves, you know. They're addicted to pleasure, you know. They have no regard for integrity or anything of righteousness, you know. It says, a man may be known by his look, and one that hath understanding by his countenance when thou meetest him. But see, Jake is not, the wisdom is not dealing with Jake on that level, especially amongst the 2/3 to see these things, you know. It says a man's attire and excessive laughter and gait show what he is. So we have to watch carefully and closely to what these gestures are, you know. And at the end of the day, This is the ploy to get Jake off his game, to separate him further from his power, because the truth is coming out through the men of the Lord. You know, I didn't mean for this to be that long, but I just wanted to go into that. You know, call Allah Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rachakwadash. Hopefully, you brothers were edified. Shalom and Abad Babal.